Here in southern Arizona, we have hundreds of World War II veterans. Some came here shortly after the war, others more recently to retire. And one Tucson man recalls his own memories from June 6, 1944.
Yeah, he was there storming the beaches of Normandy. He shared some of those vivid memories with our own KLD News 13's Dan Maries.
91-year-old Waldo Werft has a remarkable memory of what he went through 70 years ago today. He was part of the 3rd Division to land on Omaha Beach, and after sharing some of his war stories with me, it's hard to imagine what he went through and how he survived.
The Victory Medal in Europe, there is the European Theater of Operation.
From his East Side home, where he's lived since 1955, Waldo Werft breaks out his service medals and old war pictures, telling stories it took him decades to share with his family. Waldo was one of about 150,000 U.S. troops to invade Normandy on D-Day.
We're under intense fire all the time.
And from the very start, about 4 o'clock in the morning, it was an incredibly dangerous task as he loaded onto a boat carrying troops towards Omaha Beach.
And a lot of guys never made it off their boats, and many boats were sank that day, and some of them were hit by the artillery.
Waldo made it ashore, but he was already exhausted and freezing after wading through the icy waters of the English Channel. He instantly found himself under heavy enemy fire, surrounded by badly wounded soldiers and death.
It was just chaos, and equipment littered all over the place, dead bodies floating in with the tide and then going back out.
As a combat medic, Waldo did not carry a weapon. Armed only with his medical supplies, he worked to help as many of his fellow soldiers as humanly possible.
There were dead people all around me or wounded. I couldn't tell whether, but pretty soon I knew they were wounded because they're hollering medic. But some of them were so wounded they didn't even holler.
After what seemed like an impossible mission, Waldo finally made it off the beach and dug into a foxhole that night. But German sniper fire was a constant threat. While some memories have faded in the 70 years since that dreadful day, the meaning of D-Day never will.
A lot of hardship and sacrifice for a lot of guys that gave their all and made our country safe and preserved our freedom that we wouldn't have if we hadn't had guys that were willing to do what was done. Hitler would have won.
Waldo was awarded 2 Bronze Stars and was recognized for his heroic actions for administering aid to the wounded above and beyond the call of duty on D-Day. But he told me he was just doing his job. Dan Maries, KOLD News 13, live, local, late breaking.